I am a former DHS employee, and I was out door dashing today in Surprise, Arizona, and believe that uh, I was targeted as a former DHS employee. I've said terrible shit about the Department of Homeland Security and how they operate and the things that they do. It's every right to say that. The issue stems from this, and allow me to bring up my green. So here is what I encountered. I was delivering, you can see the pizzas right there. It was a DoorDash order from Little Caesars. And this was at 8900 Sarval. Sometimes when you put it into Google Maps, it'll show up as either Waddell, Arizona, or it'll show up as Glendale, Arizona. But it's right where the 303 and Northern Parkway meet. Now, why am I bringing this up? Because behind there, we see this picture right here. Yeah. So those title protections basically say that once I pass that gate, that I can be detained, my car can be searched. I can't call the police. If I call the police, CBP overrides that. So the other problem that I have is when I worked for DHS, and anybody who's worked for DHS will tell you this, ICE and Customs and Border Protection work. Oh, zoom in, zoom in. ICE and Border Protection work synonymously with one another. That means one or the other. That they work together synonymously. They share resources. They share warehouse space. And CBP is under the same umbrella as Department of Homeland Security. So, have people been stored here? Now, let's also go through some of my other screenshots. We're just going to aim this up. So that's the address, and where it says Waddell as the city, sometimes it'll pop up and say Glendale. Like in this one, when we're talking about who owns the space, it was sold to JLL Income Properties Trust for over 140 million in 2024. So it hasn't been operating since then. This is the area, and surprise, as a former DHS employee, I'll tell you, there's a lot of military installations, warehouses, and whatnot properties that will never have and probably never will show up on any map system other than a government one. So this is not surprising, but it's just like, why it doesn't show up anywhere. And and then I thought in the back of my head, it's like, well, maybe it's there because of Puma, because they receive a lot of like foreign materials. It's like, no, it's a distribution center. This is operating on the same property as it. Right across, and this property allegedly, is 1 million square feet. And the funny part is that I've passed by this thing numerous times in the past 2 years and never really noticed it that much. This is why I'm bringing it to people's attention, because I believe I was targeted as a former DHS employee. I think they were hoping that I wasn't going to be noticing, and we are in a surveillance state. So we're talking about this. I ain't telling nobody. Oh, crap. See, every time I keep talking about this, weird things keep happening with my phone. When I was down over there trying to video it, I had to go into airplane mode to take photos and screenshots because my phone simply was not working. Okay. I believe the surveillance state in which we live in as a society, and the things that I've seen while I was at DHS is the little brother of Department of Defense. After 9/11, it splintered off. They share resources, the same resources that DHS has is from Department of Defense. I had work computers, that had access to the DoD networks. Okay, and it worked on DHS networks, but it was like a clone of it, really. Okay, so you forgot where I was going with this. Okay, the surveillance state that we live in, they can enter and look through your front camera without you even knowing. It's not going to display a light. And they know our location data. Systems like Flock are a part of a bigger operation. Every single time you get scanned, it's going into a database. They're looking at your face, they're looking at your eye dilation, they're looking at everything. And like, I'm driving a car that's 2021 or newer. Every single time it passes by a Flock camera, my car pings the camera. People don't talk about that. People don't know that. Okay, for people who were familiar with Project Stingray, what replaced it was something that was supposed to be good. Who remembers the Batman movies by Christopher Nolan with, what's his name? The guy from American, anyway. That's funny. So, keep leaving nasty comments on my video because YouTube's already onto it, so don't. Okay, so funny. Okay, they knew I was in the area on DoorDash, and maybe you were hoping that I was gonna let my guard down, because the second I go through the gates, let's look at the gates again. Okay, once I pass through those gates, they could arrest me, they could detain me. This is behind the Puma Distribution Center, and if you look in my comments right now, you have a bunch of little chode bros who you're upset you got caught. You tried to target me because I said terrible things about Department of Homeland Security, and you failed. Okay? And had I gone through, once I brought this up to DoorDash, they informed me that they have temporarily suspended the customer's account because you're not allowed to do that. If we're going on to a government facility, we have to be informed. This is why, like I'm in the West Valley, and if you're near Luke Air Force Base, if you're going to deliver on there, you have to apply for a special ID, because it's not fair to be like, oh, well, it's a process you do. Okay. It needs to be declared that it is a military structure. The second you're on its property, you are subject to its rules and regulations. You can't call the police. If I was detained behind that gate, I can't call the police. The police are overridden by a government agency. And again, let's talk about the issues with law enforcement with Arizona Department of Safety. Don't even get me started. Well, let's talk about it on my TikTok. There have been a number of times we've seen officers changing out between ICE uniforms, Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, and then Phoenix and other municipalities, Glendale, Peoria, and wearing their same garb. So I just want to bring this up. It's also mainly so I can upload it. Uh, so I can upload it and show it's. I've already brought attention to several different community leaders. Uh, why aren't you disclosing that is a DHS facility? And it is a problem because DHS loves to make people disappear out of thin air. And once I'd gone past there, if I have been detained, my car is searched, DHS has access to the same systems as Department of Defense, and they have access to technology which has a backdoor into my cell phone carrier system, which would have been able to wipe all of my location data, essentially disappearing into thin air. And this is how these people operate. So, have a great night, y'all. There's going to be more about this. For Mystic Foresight, keep making threatening comments. system already caught you, and good for you.